So, obviously, I recently put out a very short video that was just saying, NiP have done a good job. They've picked up a good roster. And I suppose we may as well take a look at it just to refresh all of our memories. They picked up a bunch of kind of like younger players that have been cast off from other organizations, and they put together an interesting international lineup that might conceivably be the best roster they've had in a while. And so, just to refresh your memory, you can see they now have an experienced, tenured in-game leader that has built up international lineups before in the form of Snappy. They have this reliable anchor player in the form of Shush. They keep their young, upcoming potential star AWPer in Wrinkle, and they bring in you jerks. And I always get this wrong, but people say it's Aradurchi or something, I don't know, but whatever. Anyway, I fuck up your pronunciation. I'll get it right. By the way, I also found out that it's not T1R, it's Tanir, so you learn something new every day. Anyway, it's a good lineup for me. I really, really like it. Is it Aradochi, something like Arrivederci? I don't know. I guess after the Elon Musk thing, it's probably appropriate to do an impersonation of fucking Inglorious Bastards. Arrivederci. Buongiorno. Anyway, it's a good lineup. I like it. It's got the right blend of experience and explosive youthful exuberance. It's got players that have natural upside. It's got a good in-game leader, which, remember, I've just talked about how good, established, tenured IGLs are worth their weight in gold. I will also add, you will notice once again, Snappy, who had a terrible time at Falcons, gets the call before Hooksy. It's weird, isn't it? All those people standing for him were still waiting, guys. Still waiting for someone to actually put their motherfucking money where their motherfucking mouth is. It never happens. But I like it. I like this lineup. Definitely a step in the right direction for the organization. And not everyone was happy with it, apparently. And I'll get to who wasn't. It was Draken. Just came out of nowhere. Draken off the top rope. He said, "Dear NiP," this is just on Twitter, "it's truly crazy how you have been under construction for the past 7 years without any progress. Still stomping your head against the wall to get this mediocre international lineup to work. Sure, you have good players, but there are so much more fundamentals to CS, especially when you don't have great players. This international concept has made you crazy, and Threat speaks publicly that there are so few Swedish talents. I beg to differ, and I will show you. You had the chance to pick up my Johnny Speeds lineup, and you could have even kept Rez. We barely practiced and had a coach 50% of the time, and look where that got us. Anyways, had to let off some steam. Everyone knows I'm speaking facts, and you need to get off the Delulu pills. I'm live every day on Twitch. You can catch me there. Bye." Now, whenever I see tweets like this, I get worried. That's weird. That's a weird tweet, my dude. And also, it just doesn't seem in line with reality. Like, Johnny Speeds didn't really achieve anything. You had some upset results coming from a tier 2 team. And Draken, also, you've played on top tier teams, but not for a long time. Like, NiP have been irrelevant almost as long as you, right? And when you did play, what were you known for? It was the Draken meme of, he hits the fucking hard ones and then misses the easy ones right in front of him. So, don't know what this was about. It seems wild that you would lash out like this. And also, keeping Rez would let him go. He's done his time. Lord knows he's done his time. So I thought that was weird. And I was like, I don't know. I like the lineup. I like the direction they're going. It's a lot better than trying to build up a fucking all-Swedish roster. Those days are gone. I don't know if we'll see a good Swedish roster in CS2 for some time to come. But fair enough. It went on Reddit, it went viral. And the one thing I certainly agree with, the sentiment, is fuck NiP. Because every time they do something good, like pick up an interesting international roster, there's always something bad with NiP. And remember, we still aren't any the wiser about what's happening with stickers and certain players and potential lawsuits and all of that stuff. Never got to the bottom of that. But questions have to be asked now, because NiP becomes the latest in a long line of organizations that have secured funding just from a government. This time, the United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi Investment Office is going to fund NiP, and they now have an office in Abu Dhabi. That's part of the deal. They're getting $40 million, which might just about pay off the debt. That's a joke. Or is it? Obviously, this is from the Fudge Man. James Fudge has been under the weather lately. I'm sure if you're a fan of James Fudge's journalism, you'd appreciate an attaboy and a pep talk on social media. He's been getting some treatment. It's been very debilitating for him, and yet he's still putting out bangers. Truly the greatest journalist of 2024. Now, International Esports Organization, NiP, known as the Ninjas in Pajamas Group, NiP Group, or on the NASDAQ, NIPG, has announced a multi-year partnership with ADIO Holdings Restricted Limited, the ADIO Group, an Abu Dhabi-based entity established by the government-owned Abu Dhabi Investment Office. You see all these layers of abstraction, these shell companies that they do. Oh, we're not owned by the government. Yeah, you are. That's just a shell company that the government influences, controls, and pays for. So, yeah. You are now a United Arab Emirates organization. Under the terms of this new agreement, ADIO will invest up to approximately $40 million in NiP Group over a 4-year period, contingent on the organization meeting certain quantitative and qualitative performance milestones. As part of the deal, NiP Group will establish an Abu Dhabi-based entity that will serve as its official global headquarters, thereby expanding its footprint in the Middle East. The organization plans to leverage its enhanced presence for growth in multiple verticals, including esports, game publishing, events production, talent management, and creative studio operations. In addition, NiP Group will collaborate with ADIO as a key strategic advisor on strategies to develop a thriving ecosystem for gaming and esports in the United Arab Emirates, ranging from community-focused initiatives to professional-level engagement. Oh, this sounds familiar, doesn't it, guys? This sounds exactly what the Saudis are doing, because, yes, they're all at it. I told you the Emiratis were at it. I told you the Qataris were at it. They want the same thing. And as I've explained multiple times, much like the Vision 2030 for Saudi Arabia, which they want to create jobs. It's not just bread and circuses. It's about cool jobs for Saudi Arabian people who want to work in those cool jobs. And esports, to the Saudis apparently, is a cool job. I've worked in it 20 years. It really isn't, guys. Don't do it. But whatever. Some people want to work at esports organizations. We know Qiddiya, you have to agree to hire executives if you want your office there. And obviously Abu Dhabi, not Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, but they are indeed doing the same thing. And you can see they want to have this engagement. They want to have your headquarters there. That headquarters is going to have to be staffed. Who are they going to hire? Yes, you're going to see some of the grifter class, some of these fucking losers, these esports parasites that fail fucking upwards and just get job after job, money after money, contract after contract, despite being abject failures. More on that in a moment. Some of them are going to take the job and say, so happy to be here in Abu Dhabi. But they're obviously going to employ local people as well. Of course they are. And that's why it's a good thing. That's why you get your 10 million. What are the performance bonuses? I'll wager the performance bonuses aren't necessarily about winning trophies. I'll wager a lot of the performance bonuses are about reach and engagement in the same way that we see with the Esports World Cup. So we continue. This agreement marks a significant step for NiP Group's expansion strategy, which already operates offices in Stockholm, Sweden, Wuhan. Why'd it have to be Wuhan? Wuhan and Sao Paulo. Maybe it wasn't Fauci all along, guys. The partnership underscores Abu Dhabi's strategic move to foster a regional hub for digital entertainment while offering NiP Group access to local resources and business opportunities. According to the company's recent SEC filing, the relocation of its global headquarters and the infusion of capital from ADIO are expected to facilitate scalable initiatives across the NiP Group's portfolio. And yes, they have offices in China. We know this because if you remember, in a story I published on my Substack, they went back and withdrew their support for Ukraine because they had a League of Legends team and Riot China said, we're not political. Take that down. And so, after doing the whole thing with the NiP logo in the yellow and blue with the Ukrainian flag, they just went and deleted it. And so I wrote an article, why does NiP no longer stand with Ukraine? Because that's how you play the game. And it was embarrassing for them, and I had Slack logs and everything of them joking about it. I imagine that was a very bad day in the NiP office. Although which one? Very bad day in the one in Wuhan, I imagine. The one that's now being opened in Abu Dhabi, probably not so much. The NiP Group, managed by co-CEOs, this is a new thing that's happening in the industry too, a co-CEO, co-CEOs. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's funnily enough, it's everywhere where this oil investment money comes in. How the fuck does that work? Well, as you'll see, you understand why it happens. Co-CEOs Mario Yao Kwan Ho and Hicham Shaheen recently released their first half 2024 financial results, reporting total net revenues of $39.3 million, including $8.7 million in event production revenue. The organization posted a net loss of $4.7 million and an adjusted EBITDA of $2.6 million, with operating expenses declining by 49% compared to the same period the previous year. And so now we've got ninjas in oil, because it wasn't even just Abu Dhabi that had invested. You see, not a lot of people know that Jonas Gunderson, one of the fucking just most comedically empty people in all of esports, right? Yeah, Ninjas in Petroleum, that works. We'll take that one to the bank. Ninjas in Petroleum, that's the next Falcons rainbow flag thing. There it is. Right? Ninjas in Petroleum. We've done it again, guys. Like nothing in PayPal, Ninjas in Petroleum. We've done it. We're geniuses. We're hilarious. We workshop the funniest memes. By the way, I imagine that El Gapo will be making some graphics right now, and it's going to be like, you know, the NiP players, and there'll be barrels of oil behind them or something like that, or they're working on an oil rig, whatever you want. Anyway, Jonas Gunderson. Jonas Gunderson was the guy who caused that drama back in 21 when we were having the major in Stockholm. Just the first one after the pandemic. And PGL hired who they wanted, and he came out and he said, oh, look, everyone's white. Like Blair, Bardolph, DDK's dual heritage. You know, fucking ridiculous assumption. And everyone is a man. And this was at a time, by the way, when NiP didn't even support women in Counter-Strike by they didn't have a women's Counter-Strike team, and they employed about 3 women company-wide. And when anyone said, well, why don't you employ women? People were coming out and going, well, that isn't the point. What is the fucking point then? Is it, if representation's good for everyone, why don't they do it? So he made an absolute twat of himself. And I've never forgiven him for that, because there was an outrageous drama, and it made things bad, because then when we announced a few days later Freya was being hired to help out with the stage work, it looked like it was a capitulation and not the plan. And it looked like she was being picked up as a diversity hire instead of a fantastically talented member of the CS talent pool. And I don't like people having to walk into that, never knowing with it on their shoulders whether they earned their spot or not, or whether they're ticking a box. It's not a nice headspace to put a professional in. And he did it. And then for him to do this next after he left NiP is hilarious. This is Jonas Gunderson, Calc, remember, not at NiP anymore. He left and he created something called the Continuum X Group. It's an advisory and investment firm. And you go, okay. So after fucking up NiP, this guy finally finally went. All of the failure and terrible decisions they made, all of the scandals, him and Hicham were the standouts. There's only Hicham left. It's why, by the way, when people say to me, oh, NiP are they're heading in the right direction, they've had management changes, Hitcham's still there. He was involved in all of the fuckery, not once, but twice. Anyway, so he announced this. He said, oh, this is going to be great. And I'm like, okay, well, I wonder who the Continuum X Group is going to invest in immediately. Let's see. This is their website. We build and co-invest in the most exciting esports ventures of tomorrow. And you can see it lists its stuff down here. Investments, NiP. Right, there it is. Portfolio. The NiP Group, legendary global esports organization, listed on the NASDAQ. Oh, okay. And remember, this happened before they announced all the investment from Abu Dhabi. There's just one thing. The Continuum X Group is based in Qatar. Or Qatar, as people are saying now. You know, the World Cup hosts who said, nah, you totally drink beer, then fucked up that Budweiser sponsorship, then had people arrested for wearing rainbow flags, which were just Brazilian state flags, said, you know, listen, we're not happy if any of the players are wearing rainbow armbands, even though that's been standard protocol for international matches all the way through to the World Cup. So NiP took investment money from the Qataris as well, by the looks of it. Assuming all the money does come from Qatar. I mean, Jonas Gunderson seems to live in Doha now. So they really are ninjas in petroleum. It's like, it's like a bad joke. So I hope people are cognizant of this moving forward, because look, if you're going to have objections, and by the way, as I did notice on Reddit, it turns out Elon Musk doing the arm thing is worthy of banning Twitter from all of Reddit and the CSGO subreddit, even if it's relevant information posted by someone who is not Elon Musk. But Saudi Arabian control over esports through mechanisms like ESL and the Savvy Games Group, you don't boycott that, because what you're going to do? That was actually an argument that happened on Reddit. But you don't have to support organizations that become government-owned toys. And I'm consistent. I don't like that Blast is owned by the Danish government, especially after I saw firsthand the Danish government fuckery with PGL when PGL ran an event in Copenhagen. I don't like Abu Dhabi owning NiP. I don't like them taking Qatari money. I don't like Saudi Arabia putting all this investment via layers of abstraction into Falcons, and then Falcons coming out and pretending that there is absolutely no state funding for their organisation. By the way, we're just not going to ever publicly reveal who our owners are. So if you ever needed another reason to hate NiP and say, fuck supporting NiP, good news, you just got one.